All right, hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, Say No to Your Tedious Year-End Close. We appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule today to join us for this. There are just a couple of housekeeping items we'd like to mention before we begin the presentation. All attendees are in listen-only mode. If you do have any questions throughout the presentation, please either raise your hand so that we can unmute you or submit them through the GoToWebinar question box. We will be answering questions throughout the presentation, and we'll also be following up after the presentation to answer any additional questions. As a reminder, our November promotion communication was all about how you can streamline your sales team operations. We included some add-on applications that we found help our Dynamics GP clients achieve these results. You can visit the URL seen here for more information on those applications and their associated promotions. Today, we've invited Rockton Software to join us. They'll be shedding more light on how you can make your year-end close less painful with their add-on solutions for GP. At this point, I'd like to transition the presentation over to Alicia, who is a sales technical team lead over at Rockton Software. So Alicia, we're going to head the floor to you.
Great. Thanks so much. And thank you, everybody, for stopping by the webinar today. I really appreciate your time. And we'll try to make this as painless as possible for everyone with both your year-end close and sitting through a webinar over your lunch hour. Again, we appreciate you doing that for us. We are going to take a look today at a few products that Rockton Software offers. And I'm going to find my correct slide here. Let me make sure we can see my screen. And are you guys able to see my screen right now?
Yes, we are.
Okay, perfect. We're going to start this guy over. Of course, it likes to freeze up right when you need it to work. All right. Sorry about this, guys. All right. Well, when all else fails, abort the slideshow. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a little bit of an introduction. I am the technical sales team lead with Rockton Software. So I come from the sales side of the house, but I am a little bit on the technical side too. I originally had a background in Dynamics GP support working at Microsoft. So I have a background in that avenue as well as just really enjoying talking to potential customers and helping answer questions about our products and GP in general. So that's kind of where my wheelhouse is. I like to be a little bit technical, but I'm more training, so to speak, as well. So I love to answer questions and try to make some of the more complex things of GP a little bit easier for everyone to understand. And I come from our Fargo, North Dakota office, which is a new addition to Rockton. We opened this office back in March and have already outgrown it. We've been adding to our force in great numbers this last year, so that's awesome. Growing and growing. Our main headquarters, though, is just outside of the Denver area, and we've got offices, like I said, Fargo, Denver, Idaho, as well as folks on every time zone from virtual offices. So that's kind of a little of the geography of Rockton Software. Some things to think about with Rockton. I don't know how many of you guys are currently Rockton customers already. You may already own one of our 5 products, or maybe you're new to Rockton in general, or you've never heard of us. If you've ever been to Convergence, we generally have the really bright splash booth. Costumes have been worn. So that speaks a little bit to our culture. Rockton is a very creative company, and the culture is that we like to have fun with our jobs, but we also we focus in on the customer and the pain points that they're on GP. So the products that we offer, we have 5 of them, and they have all been basically created to really hone in on those pain points and make GP work simpler and easier. That's kind of our mantra, our motto. We were established in 1999. So we have currently over 2,000 companies working with at least one or more Rockton products, which that kind of breaks out to the math of about 70,000 GP users using at least one product of ours. So we have a really great customer base, huge retention rates. Our support does such an amazing job. So any types of questions, we're happy to answer all of those types of things. So that's a little bit about Rakuten software. And like I said, we have 5 different products. Today, I wanted to target the products that make GP year-end close a little bit less tedious, like our catchy little mantra says there, our title. So those are the ones I'm going to focus on today, which are going to be our SmartFill products, by far our most popular products, simple to use, tons and tons of people have it. Our Rakuten Auditor, so that's going to be for tracking changes in your GP. We have our Dynamics GP Toolbox, which has 25 tools in it, and we'll hit on a few of those today. And then we'll also take a brief look at our Dynamics Report Manager. The only one we're not going to take a look at today is going to be OmniPrice. So if that's something that you would have a need for, it's specific to sales order processing for pricing matrices. So similar to an extended pricing, but with a lot more robust functionality. If that's something you ever want to see, just let us know. We'd be happy to schedule a one-off just on that product for you. But we'll go ahead, and I'm going to jump in to my GP here. And I'm going to start off just by showing you guys SmartFill and kind of putting it in perspective, how might you use this for your year-end close process. Now, the way to kind of get your mind wrapped around SmartFill, it's always easier to show it, but SmartFill is going to be kind of like a Google or a Bing-style search engine for finding records in Dynamics GP. So when you're thinking of what records might you try to find, it's going to be your accounts, your customers, your vendors, employees, items, all of those kind of key records, your cards essentially. But SmartFill doesn't work just in the cards windows. This is going to work all over GP as well as with your third-party products. And what it is, it's an intuitive search to find what you're looking for. So basically, we say no to the looking glass. You don't have to click on this anymore to go find your records. You don't have to sort through the lists of customers or sort through your account list and try to figure out, where did I put that cash account or what was it called again. If you don't know, you just type in what you know. So thinking of this in kind of a year-end close, maybe you're looking at, you want to check out some accounts. You need to write some balancing journal entries, things like that. We just make it simple to do. In this case, I'm going to look for my cash account. Now, you notice I'm just typing the word cash. I don't have to have a numerical value, and this overwrites numerical values. So I can type in with letters, and I just tab through the remaining fields, and this Make a Selection window is SmartFill working. So we've gone through every account in GP, and we've returned only the results that have the word cash somewhere in this case, the account description or the account number or the account alias. So I've really brought my huge list of results down to just 12. Really fast for that, especially if you're in that journal entry window and you're trying to remember all these account numbers on the fly. Think of how much quicker it could be just to spout off a few key factors. Now, maybe my cash account is too big of a data set. Maybe I came up with 75 results instead of 12. I can sub-search my results list as well. So I just want to find my cash bank accounts. I just type bank in, hit tab again, and now I went from 12 down to 7. It just looks for cash bank accounts. And it's searching the whole description. It doesn't have to be at the beginning of the word, so we have different clauses that you can do with these searches. So I always do contains. I just think I get a bigger result set, and I'm less likely to maybe fat finger something and miss a result. So we're containing the words cash and bank, and that's the results that we get. Maybe I only have one result. Great thing with this is, in this case, I'm going to type petty through here, tab off. I only have one petty cash account, so it's going to auto-populate the window for me. I don't have to do any additional clicking around. So speeding up the whole data entry process, and I can use this not just in this account maintenance window, but in my transaction windows, in my inquiry windows, looking up reports for customers, things like that. I can do all of that in any window in GP, and I can add it to windows that are in third-party products as well. So it's a really cool tool. Another spot I'm going to show you guys how it kind of works is with customers. So I'm just going to type part of customer name here. Typed West. So this went out, and I have some additional criteria that I'm looking at in this case. I'm looking at West. I'm looking at West in both the customer number, the customer name, in their class, and in their salesperson ID. So if West shows up somewhere in here, I'm going to get that result. Maybe I want to be able to do a search, though, by city or state or something like that. I can really, really simply customize these objects, we call them, to fit my needs. So I'm going to show you how we customize a SmartFill object and then what our objects actually look like. I'll clear out of that. Okay, so we have 21 objects that come with SmartFill, and these are all the objects. So out of the box, without you having to set anything up, you literally run a wizard to install SmartFill, and it's working right off the bat in all of these areas in GP. This adds up to about 3,700 predefined searches already ready to go for, or already ready to go once you install the product. So it's going to work in accounts, it's going to work in customers, employees, checkbooks, projects, all over GP. Then you can come in and you can customize them to be more what you want them to be. So in this case, let's go ahead and we're going to add the customer city in here. So this is kind of the object itself. And again, these are the ones that come with the product, so you don't have to know anything about setting anything up. I'm just going to pick the customer master because that's where I know the customer city information and address information is going to live. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to select city, I'm going to search, and I'm going to display it. And I can look down here, and this is going to be kind of how my make a selection window looks. So I can expand columns, I can shrink them up, I can do whatever I want to make it more aesthetically pleasing. And then I can also run a test search right here to see if I'm going to get results that I want. So I can run that same West. And now I can see West Des Moines showed up in here as well as a city search. So I'm able to see right off the bat that my search is going to work. And I can add up to 10 different search criteria per object. And I can make unlimited numbers of objects. So you can really get kind of the idea of how powerful SmartFill really is and how fast it's going to work. So if you've got to go find all of your customers in the city of Chicago, we can use this in that that customer transaction entry window, or we can use it in that customer card. We can just say, you know, I want to look up my Chicago customers. There's my whole list of my Chicago customers, and that'll show up in that make a selection window. So that's one area that Rockton is a real powerhouse. This product, tons and tons of people have it. It's by far our best seller just because every single person in your organization can use this. So that is going to be SmartFill. And I'll check and see if there's any questions on this product. Generally, there aren't a whole lot just because it is so simple to use. But do we have any questions on SmartFill at all?
I don't see any questions right now.
Okay. That's okay. All right. So the next product that I want to show you guys is going to be our auditing software. So Auditor, obviously year-end close, we're in December. Chances are you're either going through or have already gone through an audit if you are a publicly traded company or you have auditors that come and want to inspect either your data or your accounts, things like that. Having Rockton Auditor in place allows you to have basically the visibility of the who, what, where, when, and why of data changes in GP. So this would be, you know, if you don't have it in place already, this would start tracking going forward. So obviously we can't look back in time and say, oh, these are all the changes that happened and who made them 5 years ago or this past year. So once you install Auditor, it's tracking everything going forward. So this is going to give you a lot of that mystery information if you're just wondering, you know, who changed that address for a vendor last year, who maybe made them a 1099 vendor when they shouldn't have been, or changed their 1099 status. That's going to be something coming up here, I think in February is when 1099s need to be out. Or maybe you want to just be able to track things as far as productivity goes. If you want to be able to use Auditor to check and see how many transactions a particular user is entering in a day, there's different ways that you can use Auditor so that it functions in a variety of ways for you as a business. It doesn't just have to be the compliance factor. So I'm going to show you just kind of briefly how we actually use an audit and then how simple the reporting is, which is really nice because reports are not my favorite. So we're going to look at payroll because at this point maybe we're starting to look at annual raises and things like that. So I'm going to go out and I've got an audit set up already, and I've got it set up on pay code maintenance. So how Auditor works as far as creating audits and setting them up is that they're going to be at the field level. So I can look at a particular window and I can audit any field on this whole window. So if I want to see every time someone adds a pay code or changes a pay code, maybe changes a pay rate, whatever on this field that I want to see changed, I can track that and then report on it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to pull up a customer. I feel like Sandra looks like a good one to use today. And I'm going to look at her salary pay code. And she was awesome this year. We're going to give her a $10,000 raise. I'm going to tab off here. Now I can audit a couple of different ways. I can audit silently in the background, meaning the users never know that they're being audited. So they go about their day, they change all their stuff. All these audits, if we're auditing particular fields, they're happening in the background. They never know that they're being audited. It's just something that you can go back and check as an audit administrator. But I can also require that my user give me the why reason. So in this case, I want to know why a user changed, in this case, the salary and that particular pay code. So I am requiring that user to give me a reason using an audit note. And I can require a note on any field in GP, which is really nice. So what I'm getting with this note is I'm getting a date and time stamp, so I know exactly when this change happened. I'm getting the field or the table, both field and table, that were being affected. And then I'm getting that old value and that new value. And then I'm saying, give me the reason. I'm going to quick bring your attention down to the lower right corner of my screen here where I'm getting this message center notification. This is letting an audit administrator know in real time that someone just made a change to someone's pay rate amount. So if this is something that maybe your payroll department needs, or maybe you made a change to an account description or something like that, and you want to be notified right away, when you're creating your audits, you can set up notifications so that if they're sitting in GP, they're getting this notification and they know right away that they can go and verify that that change should have taken place or correct it if it shouldn't have been. You can also send off emails and let people know, or let a group of people know that way. So that's just one little notification, and because I'm set up as an audit administrator, I get this message. Okay, back to our note. Nice thing about this, I can set up predefined reasons. So in this case, this might be a promotion, this could be just a pay increase, or I can free text type in here as well. So in this case, let's just say we are doing a webinar test. So I'm going to say OK. Oops. Say OK. I can close out of here and I can go on with my day. Now, as far as reports go with Auditor, we've made them really, really simple because all of our reporting is done in SmartList. The wonderful thing about SmartList is you don't need a developer degree to create a SmartList report. It's simple to slice and dice. You don't have to have any knowledge of your table structures or anything like that. You just basically go in there and use your search buttons to find what you want to know about as far as your data. So when you install Auditor, we create an Auditor folder for you. We'll expand that, and we have 3 different subfolders that are created for you as well. So we have our audits. This is going to be any audit that you create. Great thing about this is that these are all company-wide. So I can log into any company in GP and see all of the audits that have happened for all of my companies. I don't have to bounce between companies to see what's happening. I can just filter and say, I just want to see my company A and see all of my audits for company A. Or maybe I just want to see company A and B. So I'm, again, able to use that SmartList functionality to really hone in on what I want to see for my report. So you're using SmartList as your report. Because you have all the same functionality as any other SmartList, you can send it to Word and email that Word document off to your auditors or to your management. You can send this to Excel. You can print it. So you've got all these different options for how to get the information out of SmartList and out of your GP and into the hands of your auditors. So that's going to be our audit folder. This is everything you've got going on in all of your companies, all of different audits. We've also got security audits. This security audits is really awesome because you might have to show your auditors all of the security changes that have happened this year. So if someone has created new users or deleted old users, or maybe they've been making changes to roles or certain tasks, or creating new tasks and assigning those to roles, we have a one checkbox set up to automatically audit all of those types of security changes for you. You don't have to create any audits. You don't have to do anything except check a checkbox, and it will automatically do all of that for you. And then you can come into the security audits folder, because we keep all of these separate for you, and just pick and choose what information you want to see out of here. So if it's just new users that were created, we can come in and create a new user's favorite. So I can see all of my users that were created this past year. So that's going to be our security folder. And then we have e-sign approvals. E-sign is also included with Auditor. And what it does is it allows you to, at again that field level, say that you want to require someone to sign off or basically approve a change before someone can actually make it. So in the case of that pay code that I just changed, if I needed somebody else's approval, maybe a manager's approval, before I could actually go in and give Sandra a $10,000 raise, I can set an approval, and then that will then trigger a little message to any other approver that's online in GP and say, do we want to approve this change? Can Alicia actually go in and give Sandra a $10,000 raise, yes or no? And then we keep all of those audits separate again, and just auto-track them for you, again, minimizing all the setup and all the tedious work that goes to creating audits. So those are kept separate. That's something that's included with Auditor. It's free with the product. So think places you might want to require signatures before people can make changes. Okay. Now let's go into the actual audit itself so that you can get some of that information. I will make this bigger so that it makes more sense. Okay. So the little asterisks, this is going to be everything. Company-wide, audit-wide, all of my modules, third-party product, anything I've got going on are all going to be under my asterisks. And then I can slice it up from there. So if I want to see just my December audits, I can come in and I can create a December audit favorite just by using the search and coming in and saying, I want to look for dates between December 1st and December 31st. So we'll say, okay, show me that. I want to make this a favorite. So I'm going to say, this is my December audits. I add it. Magic poof, I have all my December audits. I don't have to look through this list anymore. I can just come in and say, okay, there's everything that's happened in December. Now I can separate things out even more. I can look at just specific changes. So changes to vendors, changes to employees, changes to pay codes, whatever I want to look at. Or again, using just that user that made a change and going in and seeing what's Alicia been up to for the last 6 months. Or I can go and again look at it as a performance evaluation, and if I'm tracking transactions or things like that that they're entering in a day, I can go in and use that as a performance evaluation for the year. You know, maybe you were slacking a little bit in December, but June you were a rock star. So think of the different ways you can use that again as just kind of another perk of having Auditor. So I'm going to look here at my December audits, and we're going to take a look at that change that we just made. So we can see here it's 12/18. That's about the time we made that change to the pay code. We will double click on that, and this is going to open up the audit inquiry window. So this is essentially the guts of your audit. It's going to give you all that who, what, where, when, and why information. So right away we always get a date and time stamp on every kind of audit we do. Then we get the user. So this is the person that actually made that change. We can pinpoint the workstation and the computer they were sitting at when they made the change, which is nice to know if maybe they were sitting over at Jan's computer when they made it and thought that was a sneaky way of doing it for some reason. Then we're showing the company that they were in. So again, this is cross-company. So if I had multiple companies, I could be filtering on that company name. Then we get the different type of audit. Auditor allows you to do 3 different kinds of audits. We have a window level audit, which is basically a wizard to create your audit, and we can track things as minute as just making a spelling change in a name. So you don't even have to click the Save button. It's just you tab off, and if you've changed something that small on a record, we can capture those changes in real time. Then we have our table audits, which is what we just did here. So a table audit, if you think of a table audit, these are going to be changes that actually affect the table in your database. And I always like to think of these as just the ones that require me to click Save to confirm that I've made a change. Whether it's creating a user, changing a record, deleting something, I have to click that Save or Delete or Post button. So that's what a table audit does. A lot of our customers, almost all of them, use table audits for the majority of their audit types. Then we have our SQL table audits. So with a SQL table audit, you're actually able to audit things that are happening outside of GP itself. You would be auditing at the SQL level. So if you have maybe something, an integration that writes directly to your tables, we can capture transactions that are getting pushed into your tables or into your databases via an integration instead of just actually entering it through the standard GP interface. You can also audit other things outside of GP that are on that same SQL instance. So those are your three table types. Then we have our event types. We can add it anytime someone adds a record, deletes a record, or changes an existing record. So those are our two event types. In this case, edit is what we just had going on. And then our group ID is just our audit's name. So when we're looking at this header information, that's what we're getting out of that top portion. It's just kind of that glance of, okay, what all went on? Now we get into more of the nitty-gritty of the change itself. So the product, again, we can audit any third-party product that's Dexterity-based. So if you were running a collections management, or you're running Wensoft or Encore or something like that, those are going to be Dexterity-based products. So we can keep track of what's going on in those as well. And then we're going to see the field. So this is what field was changed. What were we working on? So here we were changing that pay rate amount, and that's found in the pay code master. The record key, this is telling us what specific record. So in this case, we were changing Sandra Martinez pay code. I believe that was her name. Yes. And what was the old value? She was making $24,000 a year. She's now making $34,000 a year. So we're getting that old and new value. Nice thing about this, in the example I like to look at, is maybe I fat-fingered an address. Well, I screwed it up. I erased everything. Now all I have is a W. I don't remember what the address was beforehand, and I have to either save or delete this record. I don't get to say, back, bring it back. I don't get the undo button. So in that case, I'm able to come in here. If I made an error and I'm tracking addresses, I can come in and see that old value was 123 Main Avenue. My new value is W. I want to put it back to that old value. So that's another kind of nice way to have Auditor going. And then I have any notes that I'm requiring my user to enter, so that I always have that Y factor when I'm requiring the note. So in this case, that was just a webinar test, but maybe this was, you know, an annual pay increase or a merit increase, something like that. So that's the basis of Auditor. That's kind of the nitty-gritty as far as your reporting and what information you're going to get with each report or with each audit that you're running, is everything in this window. Another nice place where you can do reporting as well is actually at the record level. So if we went back into that pay code for that employee, let's just find her here because I cannot remember what her last name was for sure. Oh, it was Sandra Martinez. I can come up to additional, and I can look at view-related audits, and that's a bad example because I didn't set that one up. Always in a demo. Okay, let's just take a look at a vendor for an example, because I've done lots and lots and lots of stuff to ACE Travel. So in my different windows, I have the option of going to additional and view-related audits, and this is going to show me all the audits that have taken place for this particular record, whether it's a customer, a vendor, a payroll code, if I've set it up properly. I can look at all of the different things that have taken place. So I can look at this and at a glance see all of the changes that I've been making. So obviously I have been making a lot of changes to good old ACE Travel. I can see the users that are making the changes, when they're making them, and then I have drill back functionality without ever having to go to that smart list. I can just look it up right from here. So nice piece that's also available. And again, I apologize, I didn't have that set up for you for that example. But that is going to be kind of the basis of Auditor. Are there any questions at all on Auditor or what you can audit or what you can't audit or anything like that? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. Okay, not a problem. If it comes up later, just type them in and we'll get to them at the end. The next thing I want to take a look at is our Dynamics GP Toolbox. And the Toolbox is a great product because within Toolbox, there's over 25 different tools. And you're not purchasing tools individually. You get all 25 of them, and you as a company decide which ones you want to turn on and activate, or if you only want them active for a little bit, or if you want to use them all the time, completely up to you. It's a really flexible product. And again, we kind of took a lot of our customers' complaints about GP in general, and we created all these tools, and we just keep adding to the toolbox. So we say there's over 25 tools because there's probably more, and I just have not counted them recently. But I'm going to show you, out of these 25 tools, a few that are going to make that year-end close process a little bit easier for you. So the first thing I'm going to do, since we were just talking about auditing and talking about, some of that security stuff that you might have to be addressing next year or going forward, I want to address security in general for you. Within our Toolbox product, we have Security Manager. So this is a big reason why folks purchase this product, because this gives you a really great picture of what's going on in your security for GP. So going forward for 2015, you might need to do a complete overhaul for security. Or maybe you're a new customer and you're going forward and you're starting to get everything set up for security. This window takes all of your GP security and your advanced security, and it combines it all into one place. And it's a place that makes sense because it's actually a grid format, and you can pull in the information that you want to see. So I'm going to kind of give you the tour of the window. First off, this again is going to be able to look at all of your different companies. So I only have 2 companies set up, but if I had 15 companies, I could just pick which company I want to look at security in, and it would refresh and give me just that company's security. Then I can come over here, and we have predefined filters. So these filters allow you to see, I want to see what my users have access to as far as reports. What roles do my users have? What windows do they have access to? These are all predefined when you purchase the product, and then you can create your own additional filters. So if you want to look for something more specific, maybe specific tasks, or I don't know, you've got examples, I'm sure, in your own minds too. But that's what the filters are for. Then we come across and we start looking. So in this case, I'm looking at roles. I want to see what my users have access to as far as roles. I come and I look across the top here, and I'm able to pull in any user that I want from my companies. So I can come in and I can look at just a single user, or I can compare different users, or I could look at maybe a department of users if I want to basically verify what security everybody has. And then I can kind of line everything up on this grid, and let's highlight across here, and I can see kind of at the intersection of the user and the role whether or not they have access to what we're looking at. So in this case, I'm looking at the accounting manager, and I'm looking at Abby. She doesn't have access to that role. Alicia does, so does Ryan, and our SA user. This little pound sign actually indicates that there's a conflict with a segregation of duties. That's in our auditor piece as well. I didn't touch on that. If segregation of duties is something you're interested in, let me know afterwards, and we can certainly touch on it. But this is just letting us know that there is a conflict with a segregation of duties out there. But I do have access to the role. Now, if I want to change this, I can use Security Manager to update all of my security. So I want to say that, yes, Abby should have access to this accounting manager role. I can just right-click on it and flip her no to yes. And that's going to then update, because of the way that GP security is, it's all role-based. It's going to go through and it's going to update all of the details and forms below. So it's going to go through these active items and flip all of those to yes for me. Now this gives me a great place to really have that picture in time of what my security looks like. So at year end, I like to tell my customers, it's a great idea to print all this out. You're printing whatever you're showing in this window, so it's dynamic. If I just want to see Abby, I can remove Alicia, Angela, and Ryan and SA and just print Abby's security. I can change the view of what I want to print, so maybe I just care for that 30,000-foot view, just her roles. I just want to see what she has access to for roles. Or I can say just the roles and the tasks. Or in the case that I'm looking at, it's roles, tasks, and details. So I'm getting really fine-tuned details. I can pop this legend out and see what each of these little icons means, but I'm looking specifically at, right down to the windows that she has access to based on having access to this particular role. So really gives me that great picture. Now again, I export this, which is fantastic if I want to make lots of changes. I can export all my security out to Excel. So if I need to make a mass change going forward for 2015, I can do that out in Excel and then import it back in, and then all of those changes will be updated inside of my security manager. So quicker way to update security if you're going to do it for multiple companies or multiple users, that's really a fast way to do it. But that's also giving you a backup of your security. So again, year end, you're always thinking about those backups. You're thinking about, what I need to be able to prove that everybody was at last year. You've got that place where you can go back and see what everyone's security was as of, December 10th at 12:48 in the afternoon. Everyone's security was this. Save that somewhere, and you've got that. Should you ever have to import that back in and make those changes back, you can do that with Security Manager. And then this one still has all of the regular functionality of GP security too. So we let you create your users here. You can copy access. You can copy users. All of that functionality is still built right into this window. So this is a great place for folks with security concerns, or if you just want to simplify security in general going forward for next year. I always say this is a real nice feature to have. So some of the other tools in Toolbox. The way that this breaks out is we've got our security, our administration, business processes, and the user experience. So we've got tools in here for everyone. Like I said, you activate the ones that you want to activate. Some of these are going to be more specific to security administrators or database administrators. But then we've got user experience. These are tools that everybody across GP can use. When you install our products, you install them on the servers and on all your workstations. So really, everyone can have access to this if you want to give them access to them. Obviously, I wouldn't give them all access to your security manager, though. So I'm going to pull up System Lockout. This is a great tool because with year-end close coming up, and with that in mind, for keeping users out of the system, whether you're running maintenance, maybe you need to apply your tax updates, you are maybe running the year-end close process itself or doing check links. With System Lockout, we can enable this immediately. So at this point, anyone that's in the system is going to get a message letting them know that they need to log out of GP. They have, this many minutes or this many seconds, get out of GP. If they're in the middle of a process, it's not going to log them out of GP. We don't want, obviously, data that's half done in your system. So if they're in the middle of entering a huge purchase order, we're not going to boot them out of the system at that point. But we are going to send them an annoying message letting them know that, hey, you need to log out of GP. Once we have everybody out of GP, you can leave this lockout on for as long as you want, or you can come in and you can do a lockout time frame. So if you know you're going to do your year-end close from Friday at 5 p.m. until Sunday at 5 a.m., we can set this time frame up so that Sunday at 5:01 a.m., you don't have to worry about coming in and unlocking your companies. System Lockout will just turn off for you, and then users will be able to access all your companies again. You can select all companies, or you can select specific companies. We always tell you, as far as with groups, you want to have at least one user that can get into GP. So just keep that in the back of your mind. We always say, create an administrator group, but someone that is not affected. We have user groups set up in here, so I'll show you that one just as another tool that folks like to use. So you've got your time frames that you can lock people out. You can also schedule recurring lockouts. So what that means is maybe you want to always have your system locked down on the weekends. That would be nice. Maybe you don't want people working on the weekends. Or maybe you only want specific groups of people to have access to your system on the weekend. Maybe you have contract employees that you let them work Monday through Friday, no problem, but on the weekends you prefer they're supervised or something like that. So you can choose who that tool is active for. I'm going to just pop up this advanced message here. So you're also able to customize your message. I'm going to just show you the preview here. This is what your users are going to see just by default. So the system lockout is in progress, access is denied, you'll be exiting the system now. Otherwise, I mean, we could come in here and customize year-end process, check back later. Come in here, let people know what's going on. Inquiring minds want to know, why are they being locked out of the system? So you can tell them why they're being locked out. But those are just some of the options with the system lockout. So again, it doesn't have to just be year-end close. It can be any kind of a maintenance process. Maybe you just want to run a really good backup and make sure that people are out of the system for that. Got the flexibility of doing it immediately for a specific amount of time or for scheduling it in advance. So that is system lockout. Discard our changes. Going along with system lockout, I'm just going to quick show you the inactivity timeout tool. With this activated, this allows you to set up basically user groups of how long do I want to let a specific group of people or a specific individual sit in GP doing absolutely nothing before I log them out of the system. Maybe you don't want, for security reasons, their GP sitting open on their laptop once they have entered something and then gotten up and gone to lunch or to the mall or wherever they have gone. So with timeout, with the inactivity timeout, you can come in and you can create specific amounts of time for those users before they get logged out. So I have like a light user group here. I'm giving them 30 minutes. Whatever users are in this group only have 30 minutes to not be doing something actively in GP, which would be something like posting a transaction, running a report, something like that that's pushing or pulling data from the tables. And if they haven't done anything, it doesn't count that they just come in and they wiggle their mouse or they click on a couple spots. They actually have to be doing something. So if that's the case, we're going to free up that license by gracefully logging them out, which means it's essentially the same thing as if they came up and did a file close. So we're not leaving a stuck activity record in your tables. So that's just the timeout tool. That's just something else folks love about Toolbox. Getting back to places in that you would use year-end close-wise. Period open and close is also a tool. With period open and close, if you have multiple companies that you're closing at one time, you're able to come in here and you select the fiscal year that you're closing, and you can select one company or you can select multiple companies or select just groups of companies. And in this case, I'm just going to select one because I haven't gotten my fiscal period set up here yet. But I can come in and I can select a group of fiscal periods, or I can select all of my fiscal periods, and I can open or close these on command. So I'm looking based on my periods. I'm going to close all of my sales series on just the periods that I've selected. And I know without question that I have now closed all of these, whether it was for all my companies or just in this case for Fabricam. I can also generate my next fiscal year for all my companies just by clicking. We have some customers that actually had 140 GP companies. So this basically saved them a full-time employee just by having this tool turned on. So they're able to come in and know that they don't have someone in here double-clicking open to close for hours and hours on end. So this is just one of the other tools in Toolbox. Last one I'm going to show you, this is going to be a system-wide tool, Mentor. So this everybody gets access to. You'll all have a little a block, basically an M block. But Mentor is a short-term menu locator, and it's basically SmartFill for finding windows in GP. So maybe obscure windows that you don't necessarily go to on a regular basis, like the year-end close window. You shouldn't be popping in there on a regular basis. So let's just look up year-end close. We'll say search. We'll hit tab. This is going to go through all of my third-party products and all of my GP and find anything to do with year-end close. And I'm able to look through here without having to hunt and peck through all of my navigation and find what am I looking for in my year-end close. So in this case, I want to look at year-end closing. I want the actual routine. So closing my year, I can now see where that path is. If maybe this is something I want to learn about, or it's a new user and they're trying to find just maybe your checkbook windows. It's kind of subconsciously teaching you where to find things. Otherwise, I can just double-click and it's going to open that window right up for me. Another nice thing is if I am a Toolbox administrator, I get the extra security button up here. And I can click on that, and so maybe I have a new employee coming in and they're going to be helping with this year-end close, but they don't have access to that window. I can come in here and they can tell me, hey, I don't have access, I'm getting a message. I can open this up and I can see exactly what task that year-end close window lives in. So in this case, it's the admin fin 006. I can expand that and see what roles they would need access to in order to have access to this year-end closing window. Then I can come in and I can actually pull the user in. I can see with these little stop signs, they don't have access to it. And if I just double click on this stop sign, I can give them access to that role, and then that change will then roll down into Security Manager and update all of those corresponding tasks and details below. So it's kind of a backwards way to find security, but at the same time, really a lot faster for that security administrator too, who's trying to just figure out how to give them access to that window. So thought I'd show you that as well. Okay, I'm running a little low on time here, so let's quick see if there are any questions on Toolbox, and then we'll jump over to Dynamics Report Manager and finish up.
I don't see any questions that have come in, but if anyone does have any questions, feel free to jump in and type them in the chat box, and we will get to those.
Perfect. All right, last product. Thanks for hanging with me, guys. We are going to take a look at Dynamics Report Manager. So to give you a little bit of background on what the product is essentially before we get into how you can use it for year-end and other processes, Dynamics Report Manager is a report launching tool. So it is not an authoring tool or an editing tool, so this isn't going to make creating reports. You wouldn't create reports with Dynamics Report Manager, and you wouldn't make them prettier with Report Manager. So it's not going to be like a Crystal Report Manager, Crystal Reports, or an SSRS. You're going to actually use Dynamics Report Manager, or DRM for short, to bring all of your reports inside of GP. Basically what that means is I would import all of the other types of reports I have out there. So I have Crystal reports, I have SQL Reporting Services reports, I have FRX, I have Excel, I have a few Word documents, maybe Management Reporter, whatever reports I use on a regular basis or even every once in a while, I would import all of those in, and I've got them now held inside of GP. I don't have to go out and launch those applications. I can actually print the reports all from within this one window. Now this window is dynamic in the fact that it's only going to show the user what reports they personally have access to based on their security setups. So you as a Dynamics Report Manager administrator would have access to all of them, and then you would, par down from there. I can create different report groups if I just want to see financials reports or just sales reports. I can create favorite reports. I can look, in this case, here's all my year-end reports. Maybe I have 3 to 15 different reports. I can put them all inside of one folder and keep track of them that way. Or I can look at it as a great big list if I want. Then from here, I can select which reports I want to print and print them all at one time. So I can print this whole folder. I can select all of them. I can select none of them. I can queue them up. I just hit this plus button, and it's going to send them over to my print queue. With this, I'm able to pass all my parameters if I want to see, just for certain customers, maybe I just want to see certain accounts. If I've got different parameters, I can pass them automatically, or I can insert different values in here, however I have my report set up. And then I can print right from here. I can email out if I need to. But essentially, I have the option of doing all of these different types of reports in one place and then just having it all print out right there for me, which is really, really handy. Other things I can do with Dynamics Report Manager are our launch points. So these are kind of the powerhouse, and the main reason why folks purchase Dynamics Report Manager is because we get reports where it makes sense for you as the user. So we have a few different options with that. And I'm going to go through them. First one is our Windows additional menu. I'm going to show you this example for the year-end close reports. Other places we can put reports. Toolbar floating palette. If you're from the old school GP days, there used to be those push pin palettes. Our toolbar for floating palette is dynamic. So if you're in an inventory window, we're going to show you inventory reports. If you're in sales, we'll do sales reports. So it'll change, and it'll only have those particular reports attached to the palette. Window fielder button. So if I want to attach a report to the print button, and I don't necessarily want that report manager, or report writer report to print, I want my pre-crystal invoice to print, I can do that from within a launch point. I can attach it to that print button. Shortcut bar, I can add reports, over here. I can put some on my home page. So I've got some of my custom sales reports over here on my home page. I can also do a scheduled launch. These are cool if I want to, for example, a month-end report. I want to schedule that every Friday, the last Friday of the month at 5:30, I'm going to queue up 6 reports. Those are going to go PDF. I'm going to email all of those out to my managers. They're password protected. And Monday morning, I don't have to run anything. I don't have to sit and wait for those reports to generate all night. I just know that they're all going to be there. So I can set scheduled launch, and those are pretty nice and handy to have. But let's go look here over at the additional menu so we can see kind of how those work. So I've added basically the automation behind the scenes to go in and put all of my year-end reports right on my year-end close window. So I go up to additional, and there are my year-end reports. So I can click on that, and it's going to go ahead and it's going to queue up all of those reports for me. It's going to run them all. So I have that option. I could also select some functionality behind that where I could only pick up a few of the reports if I wanted to. Here's the rest of them all hiding back here. But those generated that much faster. I didn't have to go out and launch Crystal and do all of that. I just had all those reports queued right on that one spot. So those are the ones that I cared about. And I can put those anywhere in GP. Last thing you can do with Dynamics Report Manager that I didn't talk about, you can do batch reports. So if you have a batch of 500 sales order processing invoices, we pick up that batch and then email out all of those invoices to customers. We can break on the invoice and attach multiple invoices if we need to. Kind of similar to maybe your statements that you would email out of GP, but we can actually do it with the invoices. So that's really been a big time saver for a lot of our customers. So with that, I'm going to wrap up the presentation in general. Just letting you know, we so appreciate you guys stopping in today that we are offering Socius customers 20% off of any Rockton product good through the end of January, so January 31st. So if you just mentioned that you attended the webinar today, we'll be happy to apply that working through your Socius reps. And if there's any questions on any of our products that come to mind, feel free to stop by our website. It's just rocktonsoftware.com. We have lots and lots of demos. Obviously, there's tons of stuff I didn't show you guys today, but little mini demos that are like 3 minutes long if you want to see individual tools and things like that. And then we also have free trial keys for all of our products. We prefer that customers try our stuff before they buy it. So we offer full versions of the products. You can use it in your production companies, your test companies. These keys are for outside of Fabricam. You don't even need keys for Fabricam. You can just download our products and play with them. But if you want to try it in your actual companies with your actual data, we will let you do that free for 30 days, and there's no obligation to buy anything or anything like that. So those options are available to you. So again, thank you all so much for sitting in on this, and thank you, Socius, for having us today. We so appreciate it, and I will turn it back over to you guys.
All right, thank you so much, Alicia. We'll hang out just a minute. I don't see any questions that came in. We'll hang out just a few seconds here in case anybody does have a quick question they want to jump in here with. But thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us today. We'll hang out just a few seconds here. All right, I don't see anything coming in, so we can go ahead and wrap things up. Thanks again, Alicia and everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day.